Okay, what's going on everyone? Doc here, and today I want to talk about Warlock. Warlock has become one of my absolute favorites. He has a ton of utility, which I kind of figured out when I had him in the CCP testing, but then when I pulled him during the Black Widow Clairvoyant opening instead of Black Widow, I was kind of like, I guess I'll test him out again, but really, I thought his damage was super lacking. And in this gameplay and abilities, I'm going to show you that oh my god, it is not lacking at all. The amount of utilities that Warlock has is incredible, and couple that with the fact that he has some incredible damage. He has the one of the highest critical rating and critical damage ratings in the game, which means you're going to crit often and crit hard. And that's where a lot of his damage comes from. He really is a phenomenal champion, and I highly recommend anyone to rank him up if you have him, and use this video to learn how to play him. I ranked 5 mine before I even had him duped. So before I start, I just want to say tomorrow. So today is the 10th. Tomorrow the 11th, 6.4 comes out, and I will be streaming my first clear of 6.4 sometime tomorrow. I'm gonna wait a little bit to see kind of what other people run into first and see if there's any issues there. Rank up my Cap Infinity War if I think I'm going to need him, bring him to rank 5. But yeah, I'm going to be streaming, I'm thinking around 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. Turn on notifications if you want to be there for that. So without further ado, let's get started on Warlock. Warlock is immune to Bleed, Poison, Cold Snap, and Frostbite, giving him more immunities than most robotic champions. His form grants him a permanent armor up buff, and while the buff is active, opponent's special attacks cannot be critical. If it's removed by any way, opponent's attacks can obviously be critical, but it will also refresh itself after 10 seconds. So on contact, this means either hitting into the opponent's block, them hitting into Warlock's block, or just normal hits. The opponent gains a charge of Techno-Organic Virus. So it's a passive, stacking up to 20. So once the opponent has 20 of these charges, they are removed and replaced with an infection passive that lasts for 20 seconds, and the duration is reduced by 6 seconds for each unique buff on the opponent. So against Cosmics, Warlock's infections are not going to last very long. So Warlock's most important and strongest ability is his Virus. So first off, the Virus passively heal blocks the opponent. The Salve Mastery is active, the Mastery is removed, but that's a defensive thing. I'm not really going to touch on that. The opponent has a minus 30% offensive ability accuracy for every virus charge. So offensive abilities are stuff that procs when the opponent is actually attacking, not when you are attacking into them. So it doesn't cover evade or damage back, but it will cover stuff like that opponent that procs a fury buff when they use a special attack, stuff like that. Whenever the opponent would gain health while infected, they're going to be draining 5% of their current power every half a second, so 10% power every second. This is really, really helpful. Someone like Wolverine here, you can see he's trying to gain health, but he's passively heal blocked, he's G-generating because of my Sig ability, and he's constantly draining power as well. So I do want to touch upon his signature ability here because it fits most well in regards to that heal block thing. Whenever the opponent is power drained or power burned, like if they're trying to heal when they have the infection up, you're going to be degenerating them for a bunch of direct damage over 2 seconds. So it deals a ton of damage. It scales really well with the signature, and Warlock has a really high prestige as well, so it can be nice to put some Sig stones into him. It's not at all necessary. I had my Warlock ranked 5 before I had his dupe ability unlocked, but it is nice to have just for that extra damage. So blocking. If Warlock's block is well timed, so a parry, then the opponent is going to gain 3 virus charges. If the hit was a non-contact based attack, like both of Havoc's medium attacks are, then the opponent is going to instantly drain 10% of their current power. So he gains 3 charges. It doesn't count as a contact hit because it is a non-contact, so he doesn't gain that 4th charge like most other champions would. So he gains 3 charges, and then he gets power drained, which Warlock is the absolute best counter for Havoc because of that. Not only does he have the armor up buff, so that he's not going to take damage if those plasma charges get out of hand, but I can also parry his medium attack at any point and it drains all of his plasma charges. Warlock's heavy attack is going to put a bleed on the opponent, dealing damage over 5 seconds. So Warlock's SP1, the last hit is going to shock the opponent, dealing energy damage over 10 seconds. If they are infected, this also triggers when the attack is activated, but it's only going to last for 5 seconds. The first hit removes all infections to passively drain 25% of the opponent's max power over 5.5 seconds for each infection removed. So the more infections, the more power drained. I wouldn't recommend always using this attack because you are removing all of your infections, so you're going to remove your heal block, and normally that's more helpful than having the shock, but it can be useful for certain nodes like Thunderstruck. Warlock's SP2, the last hit is going to place 2 armor upbreak debuffs on the opponent, reducing armor by quite a lot. And if they are infected, the debuffs also trigger when the attack is activated, but last half as long. About as long as the attack takes. You can see through all 10 hits of my SP2 that those first 2 armor breaks just about last throughout the whole thing. Finally, the last hit refreshes 1 infection on the opponent. Finally, Warlock's SP3, you're going to inflict a passive power burn on the opponent, draining all of their power over 5.5 seconds and dealing damage proportionate to the amount lost. If he's duped, you're going to be dealing that degeneration damage as well, in addition to that power drain or power burn damage. Finally, you're going to regenerate 5% health for each infection that the opponent has. So right here, before this SP3, I had 2 infections on Juggernaut. Luckily, it doesn't remove them as well, which is really nice, but I gained 10% health there. So I'm going to try and go over his synergies really quickly here. None of them are necessary. 2 of them are a lot of fun. He has 4 on himself and 2 that are activated by him on other champions. So first off, with Magic and Sunspot, his special attacks generate 70% less power on the opponent. It's alright to have. With Cable, whenever the opponent would gain 1 or more virus charges, 50% chance for him to gain an additional charge. Really nice to have, especially if you want to build up a lot of infections on the opponent. More charges, more infections, and then more offensive ability accuracy reduction, and more likely to keep up that heal block on the opponent as well. Robot Uprising is a lot of fun. Whenever any teammate would receive a debuff they are immune to, so not just Warlock and the Synergy members, they gain a Fury buff, increasing attack rating by 60% for 6 seconds. Against this Biohazard, this basically ends up to being a 100% uptime on this Fury buff. It doesn't stack, but it does refresh, so you basically have 160% attack for the entire fight. And then with Domino in both Magnetos, Mutant landed strikes during special attacks gain 12% attack rating. Doesn't affect Warlock at all. This one on Sunspot activated by Warlock also doesn't affect him at all. It's just ability accuracy is increased by 30% for mutant champions during special attacks. And then on Guillotine 2099 activated by Warlock. So AI Uprising is similar to Robot Uprising, but it only affects those actually listed in the Synergy and Guillotine 2099. So whenever an immunity prevents a bleed or poison effect, so not any debuffs that's being prevented by an immunity, then you're going to gain 70% of a bar of power. Can't trigger it more than once every 12 seconds. Just nice to have a little bit of a burst of power there every 12 seconds. In the gameplay, I am going to be using both the Robot Uprising and AI Uprising synergies for the second half of the gameplay, and I'll let you guys know when I'm actually using them. But for the most part, I'm running him without synergies. He is totally fine without synergies. I run him without synergies most of the time when I'm doing endgame content and that kind of stuff. He's just phenomenal. Okay, so let's get into the gameplay here. First off, I want to apologize. It's going to be a little bit laggy this time. My internet wasn't quite working as well. You'll mostly notice it during the Colossus fight. But for the most part, it's fine, and it gets the whole point across of his high damage numbers coupled with his high utility. So first off, I'm going to start off in 616, Hurt Locker. So I'm going to do, first off, I just did the Moon Knight fight because I was here, but mostly I want to show off his utility against the Havoc fight next. So Moon Knight's a really good basic fight to kind of show off how well he does. So I'm running no synergies here at all. No one else in the team even, just Warlock to see how far he would get. So I should have parried the last hit there. I decided I was going to parry both of his projectiles and his SP1 because even though they're non-contact, because they're a parry, they're still going to build up virus charges on Moon Knight there. So more virus charges, just more damage, especially right here when I use my SP1. Because I want to power drain him more, because that means more degeneration. Spam my heavy attack a little bit here. Heavy attack I use a ton when he has armor breaks on him, and you'll see why in a couple seconds. Because SP1, like I said, in the abilities, I tend to not use it super often because it does remove all the infections. And then I lose the ability to place armor breaks on the opponent during my SP2. Because sometimes it can be difficult to build up the infections. SP2 there did some pretty good damage. Shouldn't have gone for a heavy attack there. I don't know why I did. I think I thought that I parried him. Deal some bleed damage, back up. Heavy attack there. Parry him. Heavy attack again. Just letting the bleed kind of do the work there. Sometimes I do that. I have used him for Do You Bleed paths before, and he's been fine. So next up, Havoc. Same deal. 616 Hurt Locker. So basically, he is, like I said, the absolute best counter for Havoc, having 2 or 3 different ways to counter him. Power drain, multiple different ways, and also that armor up buff. So right there, just decided I'm just going to get rid of all his plasma charges. He used an SP1, so he's getting a ton. Yeah, right here, I'm just going to power drain him again, get rid of all of them, because that's just how Havoc's abilities work. Going for an SP2 here. Couple 3200s there, crits, which is really nice, especially if you... So his little spinning pinwheel thing there is 9 hits and then the last bad hit. So it's a total of 10 hits in his SP2. And it doesn't give the opponent that much power any more than a normal SP2 would. So it's not really... I use the SP2 more than anything. So right here, I probably should have gone for an SP1, but I accidentally get pushed up to an SP2 trying to bait out his SP2. Because of Hurt Luck, I can't use that again. So I'm going to go for an SP3 in a couple seconds here. Once I actually bait out the SP2. You saw I parried a couple times and drained him below the bar of power. It's nice because Havoc has that passive power gain, and Warlock can just parry him and get rid of a good enough chunk of it to have a little bit of extra time in case he got too close to an SP3 and I need to burn some power on him. Really, really easy power burn on him. In addition to my SP1, of course, and now my SP3. So I got him up to 2 virus charges so that I can gain 10% here. So I'm going to go just from 34 up to 44, obviously. I found myself using his regeneration more in this gameplay than I do on a normal day. I bring him into AQ every day, and I don't really use it that much there. But I think Hurt Locker also kind of affected that, because I couldn't use my SP2 twice in a row. Thought I got the parry there, missed it, back down to 34%, that's alright. Dodged the SP1. Didn't really matter. I have a little bit of trouble dodging his SP1 sometimes, and that's where Warlock's armor up comes in nicely, because then I can't get crit and dealt that extra damage. SP2 kills him off there. I think he had like 8%. It deals about 10% to a end game content fight. So this is a fight where the lag's kind of come in hard here, but I still want to show off that he can do it. So first off, 4200 crit against a Colossus, so dealing some good damage to start. So this Colossus has unblockable specials, which aren't really an issue, and counter strike. So every time I dexterity, I get a fury buff, increasing my damage a little bit, but I was already hitting for 3400s, which is really, really good to start. Using SP2 there, should have gone for a parry to build up that thing and get more armor breaks, because I want to get rid of those armor up buffs, because I need to get the infection to the longer duration there. Because even though he still has 1, I'm still losing 6 seconds on my infections. I'm going to bait out the SP1 here, or the SP2 there. I've got those 8 Fury buffs. They're not really doing too much, but they are kind of nice to have around. It's just how Counter-Strike works. Finally get rid of all the armor breaks. Going to get the refresh there on both of them. And now I've got all 9 Fury buffs, and I'm dealing with maximum damage. 6k light attack crit. Insane. And I'm getting a 3500 non-crit. Shouldn't have dexterity there, because now it becomes unblockable because I got 10 charges. That's alright. It's only going to be an issue a couple seconds here. Get an SP2. Deal some pretty good damage there. 3400 crit. 6900 SP2 and crit. Right there, I tried going for the second attack parry. Forgot that he was unblockable, but now it's gone. And yeah, doing just fine against Colossus here. This is 636. I forgot if I mentioned that already. But this is the most endgame you can get right now, except for 6-4. And I can't wait to use him in 6-4. I'm sure he's going to be great. I used him a little bit in the 6-4 beta. I think. I honestly don't remember if I had Colossus, or if I had Warlock at that point. 134 hits, 124 hits for, I think it was like 300,000 health, so that's really, really good. So, last fight without any synergies here, Realm of Legends Wolverine. This fight takes less than 2 minutes, so I'm just going to show the whole thing. He is the easiest for this. You don't need to worry about timers or anything with Guillotine. You just heal block him, and he degenerates himself. Just gotta play slightly aggressive. Also have class disadvantage, so I'm gonna deal a couple 4500s there on crits on my SP2. Consider that the fact that the SP2 has a chance to crit on every single one of those hits and deal that much damage. A 15k critical heavy attack. Twice. That's insane. That like I said, his damage is crits. So if you can't crit that much, it's not as nice if the opponent has critical resistance, but really he crits hard and he crits often. So there's very, very little worry about it most of the time. Using my heavy attack a ton, I probably should have waited for some armor break debuffs on any opponent to crit, just because my critical damage when those armor break debuffs are up is just a ton. 15,000. It's just insane. I'm about 300% critical rating it right now, because the 5,000 without the crit buff, which is still really, really good for a heavy attack. Just all the utility that Warlock has, his damage is incredible. It really, really is. And I looked back at my old CCP recordings that I ever released when I was thinking about making a video on him, and I just kind of laughed at how much I was like, oh, he's not really that good. His damage is kind of low. He's got utility, which is nice, but no, he's got everything. Utility, immunities, damage. Warlock is the complete package. Regeneration. He's got everything you can need. Okay, now it's time for some fun with synergies. I am using both the AI Uprising and Robot Uprising synergies. So every time that he tries to inflict debuff on me, I'm going to gain a Fury buff, and every 12 seconds, I'm also going to gain a burst of power there. So I'm already up at an SP2 here. Gaining that Fury buff with every couple hits. A couple 5k crits there on the SP2. Insane. Now I'm dealing 8,000 medium crits. Really, really good. Almost back to another SP2 here. It's been less than 40 hits, and 46 hits, and he's below 50%. It's going faster than I can even talk. This is 626, by the way. 626, this is the path right after Stark Spidey to go around Hyperion. And he's just absolutely shredding right through it. No worry. I'm pretty lucky that I have both Guillotine 2099 and Ultron to be able to activate those synergies for this kind of gameplay. But it's just absolutely incredible. Morningstar, same deal. She's going to try and place bleed on me. I'm going to gain power from it, and because of that, then I'm going to be dealing a lot of extra damage with that Fury buff as well. So here I made a mistake. Should have parried again. Got that infection. Got to watch that infection timer. Make sure you launch your SP2 when you already have an infection on the opponent. Otherwise, your SP2's damage isn't lacking, but it is a lot less than it is capable of being. And really, all you need for it is like an extra parry, so there's no reason to not get that before you launch an SP2. She's stealing my Fury buff, just because that's what Morningstar's dupe ability does. So her infection timer is a lot shorter than it should be, but we're still managing here. Still getting quite a lot of Furies here. SP2 in a second here, and I've still got those 2 armor break debuffs up from the previous SP2 because I gained so much power. My SP2 dealt a couple of 6k crits there. A couple of 6k crits. Just absolutely incredible. His damage really is all about getting those armor breaks on the opponent and then crit. Crit often, crit hard. That's basically Warlock's motto. I've said it like 10 times. Last fight here. 631 Biohazard Ghost. Thought I parried there. I guess I didn't. I already done the Invisible Woman fight right before this, but that was kind of a really long fight, so I didn't want to include it in this. But I have this Ghost fight here, which is a really good example of still how he does encounter that endgame Biohazard with these 2 synergies. Almost a 10k crit there, just raw damage from Warlock. It's absolutely incredible. I'm going to do the same thing. She's at 50% already, another SP2. It's Yeah, his damage absolutely impressed me. It didn't really show until I ranked forward, and then ranked 5 him after my initial CCP testing. He's just a ton better at those kind of higher ranks, and yeah, he benefits a lot from increased critical rate, masteries, and that kind of stuff. So Ghost is down, absolutely no problem. So that's pretty much Warlock. He is a phenomenal champion, by far one of my favorites. He's helped me in every endgame content thing so far, 6.2, 6.3, and hopefully he'll be helping me in 6.4 when I stream that tomorrow. You can go check that out if you want. And if you're seeing this video late, then you can go check out the VOD for that if you want to see him be helpful in that, because I'm sure he will. I don't think I used him much in the 6.4. I think I used him in the 6.4 beta. I'm not sure if I had him then, to be honest. So yeah, Warlock is phenomenal. Tons of damage, tons of utility, and just an absolutely incredible all-around champion. By far one of my favorites that I've got very lucky to get. And yeah, so if you have Warlock in your roster, hopefully this taught you how to play him if you didn't know already. And hopefully you will use him to a great degree. He's phenomenal for Variant 2, Variant 3. I used him a little bit in Variant 4 as well when I could, obviously because of the champion restrictions, and then just endgame content as well. So he's useful everywhere. He's phenomenal. I actually cleared Variant 3 after I maxed out this guy because he was so helpful there. So yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I will hopefully see you on the stream Wednesday. If not, I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.